As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the Masters Coliseum 7 America's Qualifier. It's been a long journey here, a long road to the qualifying match, but we are here. One player will make it into the main event, the other will walk away with nothing. It is all on the line, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the Canadian Protoss player representing Team Basilisk, the Red Protoss. It is Trigger. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the American Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Matcherino Esports. It is Astrea. Here we go. One best of 3 to end it all, which again is crazy. Usually qualifying matches are best of 5s, but for the Masters Coliseum, it is non-stop best of 3s. Non-stop best of 3s, and we'll see how this all does unfold. For now, we just see Trigger going for a 2-gate opener, and Astrea doing something very unique to Astrea, going for a 2-gate opener as well, but a very different kind of 2-gate opener. It is 2 gateways, not a part of the ramp, but a part of the main. It's going to be supporting the SimCity here in the main base instead. Now, as a result... Oh, we're going for a one-base all-in. As a result, it's a bit of a give and take. On the one hand, these gateways are not vulnerable, so in case he's up against an all-in case Trigger takes control of this ramp, then his production is going to be safe. The downside, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to actually wall off against Glaive Adepts, or regular Adepts, sorry. If Adepts do shade in, again, we can't really wall off here at the ramp. So we're going to be a little bit more vulnerable. Trigger is going for a proxy robo. Again, it is going to be a one-base all-in at a Trigger with Immortal production. We can go into... Actually, we should be going Prism first and then Immortals afterwards. Meanwhile, Astrea, he is scouting. He's checking the northern portion of the map. As... No shot. Astrea going for a ninja base. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that Astrea is just gonna die. He's investing quite a bit, but he scouts. He does come across the robo. He sees, he knows. He's aware of the all-in that's coming his way. Adepts have been revealed. Stalkers are moving out to try and depower this robo. They're gonna run into the Adepts. Stalker's getting a lot of damage done already here, but a bit of a move command. The Stalkers missing some shots. They cannot attack because they're in the high. They're in the side blocker. No shot. The Stalkers, they can't see what's shooting them because of the smoke. That's crazy. Oh my god. For a moment, I was like, is he move commanding? No, he just can't see. Really nicely done there from Trigger. Immortals are on the way. The robo will stay powered. And now we're pushing in. At the same time, Trigger rotating towards the left-hand side is going to somehow come across these Stalkers, sorry, but he doesn't come across the Nexus. And Trigger is pulling back. We can see Astrea, he's trying to rotate around, trying to get on top of this robo from behind. He's going for the pylon, but the Immortal does get here in time. Trigger desperately wants to push out, but he's kind of stuck here, and with the high ground as well. We get some extra hits in. Again, Trigger, he just wants to move out, but alas, he's stuck here out in the open. Behind this, Astrea going for a Stargate follow-up, Void Ray production as well. Trigger still committed. Still wants to break free. I kind of feel like this is working against Astrea. We'll see what happens. Like, these are resources that could have been spent into additional warp bins, pylons, a third gateway. This is just such a greedy move here from Astrea, especially after he scouted the robo. He didn't cancel the Nexus either, which is wild. Crazy here from Astrea. But here we go. Trigger going to be pushing out. He has been delayed, and Astrea already has a Void Ray. Sentries for force fields. Second Void Ray has arrived. We don't really want to fight out in the open. We ideally want to fight with our shield battery with overcharge. Void Rays are amassing. We're going for the Stargate so far, forcing the juggling here out of Trigger. We are forcing back the army. Meanwhile, behind this Astrea, he's making probes. He has an economy. The longer this goes on, the better it is for Astrea. God, these Void Rays are so cavalier. Calm down. So far, good juggling here as Trigger is trying to focus down that Stargate. Overcharge is popped, keeping the army alive. As Trigger is going to be forced back. Oh, and is Trigger going to try to transition out of this? I don't see a world where he can. He's going for Blink, actually. He's going for Blink as a follow-up. Meanwhile, Astrea, he's looking to try and snowball out of control. He's pushing out onto the map. Ooh, does take some extra hits. But does keep his Void Rays alive. Yeah, and that natural base, that ninja base getting up and running. Additional Void Rays on the way. How many do we have? We're up to 4 Void Rays. Up against 2 Immortals and Mass Stalker. I mean, that's a lot of Stalkers, to be fair. That is a lot of Stalkers that we have to respect. We get 1 Void Ray for 1 Stalker. Good trade for Trigger. Astrea has to be very careful to overextend. As he did end up wasting his prismatic alignment. Force field out of Trigger. Yeah, picks up a couple of gamer units for free, essentially. Astrea is being picked apart. Trigger now up in army supply. Behind this, Astrea trying to get into his own robot production. But Astrea has to be very careful to bleed out too many units. I feel like we should probably leave. Like, this army from Trigger is just getting insane. And Blink is 10 seconds away. Another big force field. We catch a sentry. Oh, the sentry does survive. Once again, we force the prismatic alignment. Blink is done. We can dive. Blink is now done for Trigger. Yeah, we are looking to collapse on this army. And Astrea, he's caught out in the open. We can dive. Yeah, we dive on top of this. We pick off a sentry. And Astrea, he has to give up on that position. He's racing back home. Bleeding out a lot of units. How many Void Rays? 5 Void Rays, soon to be 6. 1 shield battery, 1 overcharge. Depths are going to be shading into the main base, giving some high ground vision. At the same time, we scout! No shot! Trigger, he does come across the ninja base. Shield batteries are on the way. Cannons as well. Trigger, he just turns everything around, and he's going to shut this down. I mean, this has been amazing. Oh no, he's recalling. Oh my god. He's crazy. He's out of the open. 1, 2 Void Rays go down. Big Picos already. We're just waiting for the prismatic alignment to run out, and once it does, we can push in. Boys are being pulled. I'm not in love with this recall. We'll see if we can pull it off. We'll see if we can hold on. As Trigger is the one that wants the fights, and yeah, he's diving on top of this. 1, 2, 3 Void Rays going to be going down. And Astrea is going to lose everything. He cannot defend this position. He is trying to force this back, but we're going to have to respect the overcharge at least a little bit. But it runs out. Our Tosis Pylon going to be going down, depowering everything here. And Trigger will clean up the entire army and the base as well. And Trigger is looking to take a lead in this series. Astrea lost everything. What does he have left? Yeah, GG gets called. The answer is nothing, as Trigger takes game number 1. GG. GG, well played. Again, Astrea going for the ninja base was bold, and it was paying off. It was kind of worth it in the end. He was just getting so much value out of it. Being able to mine so freely from it as well. But recalling to try and protect it, that was a bit of a misstep there. You know, he was exposed out in the open. He didn't have the high ground defender's advantage like he did in his main base. And, of course, he just allowed his opponent with a larger army to surround and just collapse on his army. Despite that, even if Astrea had given up on that base, Trigger still had a big lead as well when it came to the quality of the army. So it was a difficult position for Astrea regardless. was a difficult position, and here we go. Now we're getting into game number 2, potentially the final game of the series. Trigger needs one more. Astrea needs to win this game to force the ace match. Remember, it's a best of 3. 3 games max. Oh boy. Astrea can be a crafty goblin. He can be. He is. 100%. But here we go, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Solaris. We have our Canadian Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Team Basilisk, leading the series 1-0. It is Trigger. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Matcherino Esports. He needs to win this game to force that ace match. It is Astrea. And once again, we are going to have some very similar openers, where Astrea, I imagine he's going to be going, for his gateways here next to his base. So we didn't really get to talk much about it. There's a much more standard, safer opener out of Trigger. This is more technically efficient from Astrea, because you don't have to waste as much time sending the probe to throw down the pylon and the gateway, then sending it back to mining. Because all these buildings are close to the chest, it is technically more efficient, like resource-wise here for Astrea. But as I mentioned before, the downside is that you do expose yourself to Adept harass. Adepts can shade in and you can't wall off. So it's a bit of a give and take here. It is a risky way to play, but Astrea is quite fond of it. More often than not, this is how he opens up in PvP. Not the most common or popular way to play in PvP, but Astrea makes it work. Meanwhile, behind this, we have Trigger just setting up his Zip City, getting into his own 2-gate opener as well. Outside of the building positioning, same builds. And this time, Trigger's second pylon is in the main base. This time, we are not proxying. We could still go for a 1-base all-in, don't get me wrong. That is still possible, but no proxies at least. From Trigger. Meanwhile, we do have the pylon being sent down here from Astrea. A bit of a cheeky move here. Oh, okay, it does cancel. For a moment there, I thought we were going to commit. Meanwhile, we do have a robo opener here from Trigger as well. I'm very curious. This could either be very safe, very defensive, or it could be the beginning of a 1-base all-in. If we throw down a 3rd gateway, we can commit. Behind this, Astrea continuing his Stalker production, throwing down a pylon across the map. And he is pushing. Again, double Stalker out of Astrea. We have double Stalker here from Trigger as well. The pylon is finishing up to reinforce. Trigger is going for a 1-base all-in. That is 3 gateways and a robo. Very similar to last game, except it's not proxied. So Trigger is going to be in the driver's seat. Astrea is expanding. Now again, because of this pylon, Astrea can warp in a couple of Adepts, and he can try to shade into the main base while Trigger is committed. So we have some backstab potential here for Astrea. Meanwhile, the Stalkers are moving out. See Astrea repositioning, and Trigger, he's still amassing his army. Prism is on the way. I love that, again, we're keeping a probe here just in case a shade comes in so we can wall off. And it looks like Astrea has realized that something is wrong, something is amiss, and he's going for a robo himself. Robos are ideal in this position, and it looks like Trigger is getting caught out. Astrea pushes in. Trigger has to turn back around. He is caught out of position. 1 Stalker falls. Good juggling. Good juggling out of Trigger, as he's forced to waste time chasing this down. We'll pick up some of these Stalkers though. He's actually making this worth his while. Oh, getting 3 Stalkers. Every unit counts here when we have so little to work with. Immortals on the way. Again, Astrea, he's just buying time for the Immortal. Shield battery is done on the low ground. Overcharge is going to be available. Pylon block here at the natural base, and Trigger is committed. Get eyes on the defensive setup. Trigger backing up. Going for another warp in. With the arrival of this Immortal, though, I don't know if we can break in. Oof. So far, once again, good micro here out of Trigger, keeping those weakened Stalkers back. Sentry is warped in, so we can force field the ramp if need be. We can try to cut up this army. Here we go, we are going to be pushing on forward. We do force field the ramp, but there's nothing really coming down from it. There are some 2 Stalkers left in the main. Stalkers, they cannot engage. The Nexus taking a lot of hits, actually. We're forcing the hand of Astrea. There we go, he's going to be committing. He dives on top of the prison. The prison will go down. No more reinforcements. The boys are being pulled. And with 2 Immortals with an overcharge as well, Astrea, he's going to shut this down. Okay, completely shuts this down. Trigger being forced back. Again, the Immortals here in this position, they reign supreme. Nexus is still alive. We lost 3 workers, but Astrea is still ahead in the economy. And Trigger, he's going for a Twilight Council behind this to go into Blink, I imagine. Maybe a Dark Shrine, but Blink more often than not. And it looks like Trigger wants to expand. And this is a brutal moment here for Trigger. Astrea, he's getting away with his natural base. Trigger just now going to be expanding. Such a late expansion here from our red Protoss. Astrea is in the driver's seat. Here we go. Trigger going to try and go for a counterattack again. The onus, the pressure is on Trigger to make something happen here, but we're in position. Astrea does force Trigger back. Now, there's a world. If Trigger can somehow catch Astrea out, if he can somehow catch his army in the open, or maybe outposition him in some way, then there is a world where Trigger can come back in this game. But for the most part, again, Astrea's chilling. he's fine. Working on a 3rd Immortal, probing up his natural. Not impossible for Trigger to come back, just difficult. The observer here of Astrea does get eyes on the researching Twilight Council. So we are aware of Blink. We are aware that there are no DTs. So a really good scout from Astrea. The observer! Observer does go down. Yeah, Forge is on the way, so Trigger, he's going to try and recover. He's going to try and work towards the mid-game. Saturating his natural, working on +1. And Astrea is pushing. And look at this army. He's got 4 Immortals. This is insane. Oh my god. A very hefty army here from Astrea. At the same time, he can try to go for some War Prism harass. I wouldn't be opposed to him just reinforcing his main army and pushing through, but looks like he wants to try to pull apart the attention of Trigger. There we go. Adept's going to be looking to be dropped into the main. Astrea's main army does back off. Okay, looks like he sees all these Blink Stalkers and he's going to respect them. He's going to pull back. Astrea taking a 3rd base. Dipping into the main. Trigger not quite in position, and we will be losing some probes. The probes are getting picked off. 2 workers. We could even get a 3rd. We could even get a 4th. As we do cancel the shade. And we get even more probes. At the same time, though, Trigger is going for a big counterattack. Trigger with 22 Stalkers against the 10 of Astrea. That's a kill? No shot. That was a kill, not a cancel. Trigger, he's bouncing back. He deflects the Adept Harass, losing 3 probes, not too many. Does get a kill on the Nexus. Again, has a pretty heavy Stalker army, and again, there's a world where he can take a fight. This is the beginning of the comeback here for Trigger. It's a good start. There are 400 minerals down the drain. Trigger rotating around. We'll see what he can find. He could even try to bypass the main army, get into the natural, pick off probes, then recall back home. Like, there's potential as we catch some workers. 3, 4, 5, 6 probes, 7 probes going down, and again, without Blink, Astrea can't really chase this. He can't punish. Trigger just abusing the immobility here of Astrea's army. Adepts, they get across the map. And it Looks like they try to find a way in, but we're in position. Yeah, look, the body blocking is real. Catch the Adepts. And this isn't clear-cut anymore. I mean, Astrea still ahead in workers, to be fair, right? He's still up 10 probes. He still has his third operational. Fourth is on the way. What I will say is that Astrea is still maintaining his economic lead. But it's not as large as it otherwise should have been. Meanwhile, Blink is done. Blink is done for Astrea, so mobility-wise, he can keep up with Trigger. And when it comes to the size of the army, Trigger still has a Stalker lead, but the Immortals make up for that. I guess the one big thing that a Trigger is going to have is +1. +1 just finished for Trigger. So the quality of his Stalkers are just going to be better than that of Astrea's. Here we go, he's pushing into that third base. Observer going to get picked off. Not quite. Oh. Again, a very tense moment here for our two players. Playing a game of chicken at the same time. Astrea, he slips into that natural, but we're in position. Trigger does deal with this. We'll lose a couple of probes, but we'll clean up the Adepts. And Astrea backs off. He doesn't want to take a risk. Does pull back. I'm sure he clicked on the Stalkers. I'm sure he saw the upgrade, and he's like, you know what? I'll just wait for my own upgrade, which is a wise move here from Astrea. He's soon about to catch up in +1. Third base is getting saturated. Sorry, fourth base is getting saturated. Astrea is still maintaining his economic lead. But Trigger, he's going to have a window. There's going to be a timing where he has +2 and Astrea only has +1. Outside of that, I wouldn't be opposed to disruptors. So far, no disruptors yet, but I'm waiting for either player to tech up. For now, Astrea, he's got charge, should be going into a Templar Archives. Into, I imagine, Archons alongside them. We'll see. Yeah, second Forge is on the way for those armor upgrades for those Zealots. Meanwhile, Trigger just now taking his fourth. It is late, it is delayed, but fourth nonetheless. Astrea is going to be pushing. Looking at the army tab here, still slightly behind in Stalkers, but has for the most part caught up. Remember, 1-1 is done. Up a +2 kicking in for Trigger. Force fields do keep Astrea at bay. This nation coming in. Trigger, he wants to get eyes on something like a Skytoss transition or a Disruptor transition. There we go, Astrea. He is going to be knocking down those rocks. Is ahead in that supply. It isn't going to be an easy fight, but again, Astrea does have quite an advantage still. +2, about to kick in. Again, I'm pretty sure Astrea just wants to wait for those upgrades to even up. Trading a Stalker for a Stalker. Going for an Immortal drop into the main. Oh my god. Bold move here from Astrea. Immortal drop into the main base at the same time. Astrea tries to force his way up the ramp, but again, up the ramp is just a little bit too adventurous here. Can't quite push through. Immortal's getting damage done. This is going to be a costly trade here for Astrea. Trigger's trying to force his way up the ramp. We do force the overcharge. Trigger, he has the better concave. Yeah, he has the better engage overall. Meanwhile, that's going to be a kill on the War Prism. I believe a kill on the Immortals. Yep, both Immortals did go down. Was that worth it for Astrea? I'm not too certain here. Especially because Astrea isn't maxing. Like, he's close, don't get me wrong, but Immortals weren't weighing him down. The Prism is being rebuilt from Astrea. Without it, he can't really harass. He can't pull apart the attention of Trigger. Trigger misreading, though. Uh-oh. Trigger, he's out of position. Astrea pushing up the ramp. He does get on top of this base. Ay. Trigger misreading the movement here of Astrea. Does misread the movement. Now pushing in, but he has lost his defender's advantage. The Nexus is going to be going down. Shield battery went down as well. And now it's all about the Blinks. It's all about the Stalkers. We dive on top of the Immortals. And it looks like Trigger, can he clean up the Immortals? He can. But Astrea at the same time, a big Zealot counterattack here at the third. He's crippling the economy of Trigger. Trigger does force the recall. But again, he lost his fourth base and he's losing his third as well. Can we get the Nexus? We can and we will. The Nexus will fall. And Trigger is being forced all in. He barely has an economy. And he's pulling the boys. You don't see this often in PvP. But the boys are being pulled. We're completely all in. Trigger has a comparable army here, but Zealots do complicate things. There we go. We catch a couple of those Zealots. They do get shaved off. Additional boys are being pulled as well. Trigger looks like he will come across this Nexus. But the boys are also being pulled. The probe action. Astrea comes in with a mass amount of Zealots as well. He has the better army. He has the more efficient army. And Astrea, he should be able to shut this down, clean this up, and force an ace match. GG gets called. Astrea. Ooh. Oh my god, I did kind of reverse the names there at the end. But Astrea does take game number 2, and we are going to the ace match. GG. Whew. GG, well played. We're going all the way to game number 3. I'm here for it. I am here for it. Again, I think I accidentally reversed the names on the overlay there towards the end. My apologies, but Trigger was up 1-0 in that series, and now we're tied up. Now we are tied up. And it all ends on site Delta. Let's go. Let us go. Whew. Fun fact, this all started with an all-in as well. 2 games in a row. Trigger has gone for 1 base all-ins. Here in game 2, he was shut down completely, and he was playing from behind. Straight up. Trigger was playing from behind just because of how late his third base was. Sorry, his natural was. How late his third base was as well. Overall, he was 1 step behind in the economy almost the entire game. And Astrea was able to leverage that with a better army, with a larger army, and we'll see if Trigger goes for another 1 base all-in. Can we get the hat trick? Can we go for it every game here in this series? Spawning in the top left-hand corner of site Delta. We are here with the final game of the qualifier, the America's qualifier of Masters Coliseum number 7. We're here to determine which of these 2 players makes it into the main event. In the top left-hand corner of site Delta, we have the Canadian Protoss representing Team Basilisk. It is Trigger. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Protoss, the blue Protoss player representing Macherino Esports. It is Astrea. And Astrea is pulling a bit of a max packs, going for a gate expand. Let's go. A much more economic opener here from Astrea. Trigger going for a 2-gate opener instead. Now, what Astrea is doing isn't really a max packs because it's safe to do it. Alkione, what? Site Delta, this map, is one of the few maps in the map pool that actually has a ramp. There are only 2. It's Site Delta and Radisson Station. So because of this ramp, it is considered safe, it is considered legal for Protoss players to go for more economic openers, go for a gateway into Cybercore, into expansion. We can go for something more economic here from Astrea. There's a Cybercore on the way. Meanwhile, Trigger is going for something more standard and can try to all in and try to punish this opener of Astrea. Now, Astrea is going double gas, which means he should be going for a Stargate before expansion. He has the option. If he's delayed a little bit too long, he can throw down the Stargate, and there's that pylon. Yeah. Which means Astrea should be able to afford that Stargate, go for the Oracle first, and then into the expansion. Meanwhile, Trigger back at home, how hard are we going to commit? That's the real question. As Trigger is just trying to delay the expansion for as long as he can. The Zealot has arrived. There's that Stargate that we were talking about. Again, there are some Protoss players that go for a single gas opener and they go for a faster Nexus, but Astrea, he's just being safe, aware that Trigger would delay him. And there's that Nexus on the way. And it looks like Trigger is responding with his own delayed expansion. There's no pylon, there's no proxy, there's no third gateway, there's no robo. There's no signs of aggression here from Trigger, outside of Adepts. Well, the Adepts are spotted by Astrea. He does see them ahead of time. Adepts are moving out. We have a shield battery on the way. Astrea, upon seeing those Adepts, he's ready to wall off. Ready to set up a full wall off here at the natural. And Trigger still not expanding. He's going for tech first. He's going for a Stargate. Now, this could be for a Phoenix. Bearing in mind that Trigger, he did scout the Stargate opener of Astrea, so he knows that Oracles are moving out. So he could try to cut Astrea off and try to go Phoenix first instead, as he is going for a delayed expansion. Meanwhile, we see Astrea going for a safety Void Ray. Ooh, the Adepts there. They committed to the shade. We have to recall back home. Oracle is on the way. There's that Phoenix that we were talking about. So again, it looks like Trigger wants to try to hard counter his opponent. And we'll see if he can. As the Oracle makes its way into the main base, Phoenix does arrive in time and is going to chase this down, forcing the recall. And the investment into this Oracle hasn't really paid off. Now, upon seeing the Phoenix and upon seeing the expansion, Astrea cancels the Void Ray. Void Ray is not necessary. Void Ray is only necessary if you're being all in. So we cancel it and we invest into a second Oracle instead. Behind this, we're getting our natural up and running. And we're working towards Blink. So everything looking as it should here for Astrea. Meanwhile, Trigger, there's a lot more pressure on him to get damage done. Again, Trigger, he has a later expansion. As a result, a lower worker count. And he's being very active with these Adepts. Unfortunately for Trigger, Astrea has a full wall. It is knocking it down, but again, has a full wall set up. Trigger can't really touch this yet, as there's no way in for the Adepts. And it looks like Astrea is maybe even thinking about expanding. Yeah, we're going straight for a third. Astrea just getting further ahead in the economy. Very similar to what we saw last game. Very similar. Blink is on the way for both players. Trigger going for a faster forge. So 2 games in a row here, Trigger will have better Stalkers in a way. They will be better upgraded with +1. But he will have less Stalkers overall because Astrea will have the better economy. So there's a bit of a give and take there. Astrea will have the quantity, Trigger will have the quality. For a time. For a time. As Trigger's going to get into his own third. Again, a very passive game here in Game 3. Very stark contrast compared to every other game in this series. Like, it's been very intense so far. Coming into this, again, Trigger's been very aggressive and very all-in. But here in the ace match, we're calming things down. Cool. So hello, Juicy Games in the chats. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad, papi. Feliz Navidad. Feliz. As Astrea is going to be pushing. Again, both players will have Blink. +1 still on the horizon for Trigger. Astrea does have a pretty comparable Stalker count to his opponent. Astrea actually threatening a dive into the natural. Is going to be punished though. You want 2 Stalkers going down. The Phoenix as well helping out, and Trigger takes a beautiful fight here. Oh my god. It's another Stalker as well, catching Astrea out. At the same time, the Oracles, they get into the main base and they will try to punch the economy of Trigger. They get 3 probes. But again, Trigger, he killed 5 Stalkers. Only those 3 even gets an Oracle as well. So a nice engage from Trigger. He needed something to go his way. Did lose 3 probes, but is able to recover nonetheless. Able to make up for it with a better fight. The Phoenix! Ooh, the Phoenix is going to be going down. Stage Trap is done! We are going to bait it out, but still just catch a couple of units. But Trigger, he knows he has momentum. He dives on top of the army, focuses down as many of these Stalkers as he can. Trigger taking a supply lead, an army supply lead. Again, the better fight earlier, snowballing out of control here. There is another stasis trap, and does Trigger see? Oh! Does he know? As he pulls back and he takes the stasis to the face. And Astrea will hold. Gets on top of the Stalkers, gets on top of the reinforcements. At the same time, Trigger slipping into that natural base, but alas, doesn't get in. Doesn't get much done. Look at the unit type. Trigger still ahead in Stalkers. But he's going to have to back up. Here come the reinforcements. Trigger is being forced back. At the same time, the Adept was cleaned up as well. The random Stalker. A little bit chaotic. At least Trigger does come across the Nexus. Can maybe force a cancel. Stray is on the way. Does hold on to his fourth. A little bit too much progression on it. As the dust does settle. Oh, wait. Hold on. There we go. Trigger, he killed 12 Stalkers, but he didn't end up losing his Phoenix. A pretty comparable Stalker amount as well. Yeah, that was a much more even trade for Astrea. And again, Astrea, he is up in the worker count, up in the base count, up in the economy. The Jonas is on Trigger to catch some of these units. Stasis, not again! Once again, massive stasis on the army. Cutting Trigger's army in half and giving Astrea a lot of time to react and respond. Adept shade in, they get a couple of probes. At the same time, we have a War Prism, sorry, the Oracle, heading towards the main. Shield batteries are on the way. Astrea amassing an army. Charge not done yet. Another the stasis, they don't stop, Happy, they don't stop. Another stasis trap going off as well. This time only catching 3 Stalkers. But every Stalker does count. Astrea looking to break through. The Immortal is going to be going down. Oh, the better Concave. Trigger with the better upgrades. He's got +2. He's got +2. He's got charge. Trigger, he can take a fight. Overcharge was premature. That was popped a little bit too early. Decent blinks here out of Trigger. It looks like he will take control of the 4th base. The 4th is going to be going down. Oh my god, 14 dead workers. Yeah, the Nexus is going to fall. So far, a good fight here for Trigger. Astrea has to back up. Trigger taking his own 4th. At the same time, the Oracle gets in, but doesn't get anything done. Oh my god, una más! Oh, we barely don't get it. The main army's going to be clashing once again, and Astrea, he can't take this fight. Where are those charge lots? Where are those zealots? Just heavily reliant here on pure Blink Stalker. Gonna be rotating around. Trigger trying to find a better angle of attack. Trying to get into the natural if possible. Same time, Oracle coming back in, thinking about it. And Trigger, suddenly, he has taken an economic lead. He's up in workers. He has a faster 4th base. He's rotating back around, and he's going to deny the 4th for a second time. And Astrea can't really do much about it. Trigger looking for the fight instead. And it does force a cancel. And Astrea, he's hurting right now. He's in a really rough position. Any kind of advantage that he once had isn't there anymore. A lot of it came down to, again, just Trigger out-positioning Astrea, forcing him to fight in a really awkward location, and taking down that 4th, taking down all those workers. Trigger, now in the driver's seat, now has a window. +2 is on the horizon. There's going to be a window where we have +2, and Astrea doesn't. Sorry, +3. +3 even. Yeah, you know what I mean. Meanwhile, Astrea, pushing towards the left-hand side, is spotted by the Observer. And Trigger not too far behind. But Astrea, he could try to go into the natural. Doesn't risk it. He's going to back off. Forcing Trigger to kind of dance with his army. This is giving the opportunity for Astrea to now take a 4th, since Trigger is busy just keeping up with the movement. Trigger, he doesn't see. He doesn't see. Doesn't have eyes on the army. Adepts a shade into that mineral line. And Astrea could go for the dive into the natural. Trigger doesn't have eyes on the main army. Doesn't know where it is. Astrea, he's aware of the location of these Stalkers. We could even end up in a weird base trade. But here we go, Astrea. He goes for the natural. Trigger turning back around, racing back home. Not the best stasis trap. Trigger, he wants to try to trap this army. Astrea, he will bleed out a couple of Stalkers. +3 is done at the same time. A big counterattack here towards the north. And probes are falling. Astrea is going to be able to get quite a lot done here. But Trigger, he doesn't care. He's just going straight for the 4th base of Astrea. Going for the Nexus. Astrea, now he's going to be the one in just an awkward position on the low ground. He goes for the dive, takes down the Prism. But again, we have +3. We have an Immortal as well. Astrea getting on top of this, though. Gets the Immortal. Charge loss coming in clutch. Astrea did lose a base. Trigger, he's being forced back. Zealous trying to come in from behind. And Astrea, he's bleeding out too many units. He's running out of steam. Running out of army. And Trigger didn't lose his own 4th. It's still up and running. Did lose his stack defense. That's true. The cannons and the shield batteries. But that can be replaced. Astrea once again trying to go for a counterattack. But this time Trigger, he... not quite. I was going to say he can intercept. Astrea gets in. But Trigger, he dives on the army. He knows he has momentum. He knows he has the larger Stalker force here. Goes for a defensive orbit instead. And Astrea just does not have enough. Astrea, he is the reigning ESL Masters champion for Americas. Multiple times actually. But here in this best of 3, in this PvP, Trigger is coming out on top. Gets a kill on the Nexus, not a cancel. Going for a Zealot counterattack, making sure that there is no hidden base. There is no double expand. God, and now we're going for a big warping of DTs. We don't have detection. Oh my god, the kill move, the invisible man. We don't have any cannons, no observer in position either. As Astrea's main army is distracted, here come the DTs. Yeah, straight on top of the base. Next is going to be focused down. We do have a revelation, but GG gets called, and Trigger will pull Astrea apart, and Trigger will take the series 2-1. Qualifying for Masters Coliseum 7. GG. GG, well played. Trigger on fire here tonight, going through some of the best players that America has to offer, that the Americas have to offer here. Looking at the bracket, Trigger, it wasn't easy. Remember, in ESL Masters Winter, in the regionals before DreamHack Atlanta, the top 2 players in the Americas were Astrea and Coliseum, respectively. And Trigger, he made his way through both Coliseum and Astrea. He took down both of them on his road here to qualify for the main event, and congratulations. Congratulations to Trigger. It was not an easy road for him. Took down arguably the two best players in the region, and yeah, he's going to be a part of Masters Coliseum 7. Congratulations. Congratulations here to Trigger. GG. Well played. Well played, Bobby. Well played. And he's going to be joining some of our other players as well in that main event. We can quickly take a moment here to go over that as well. Very quickly. Hold on. There we go. Bam. Beautiful. So last night we did cast the Asia qualifier. Now the Asia qualifier doesn't include Korea, so this was Southeast Asia alongside China and Oceania as well. Last night we casted Firefly. Firefly did qualify over Cyan to also make it into the main event, so we have Trigger and Firefly from their respective regions. Tomorrow we will be casting the Korea qualifiers. You can see here the Korean qualifiers are tomorrow and the Europe qualifiers are the day after. So back to back to back to back, we have all 4 regions with their qualifiers. Meanwhile, the main event. The main event has invites based on players' performances in, of course, based on players' performances in WTL and Kung Fu Cup. This is an event organized by SE Boy, and these are the invited players based on their performances in these tournaments. We have for Protoss, Hero and Max. We have for Terran, that's a lot of Terran, Bunny, Bjorn, Clem, Cure, Maru, and Oliveira, all making it through for the Terrans. And then for Zerg, we have Dark, Sterile, Shin, and Solar. These are our 12 invited players, and there are going to be 4 players to join them for 16 in total for the main event. Okay, what's the prize pool here? Gee, 16k here for first place. It's going to be a 42,000 USD prize pool, so a hefty amount of money here. It is a premier tournament. Masters Coliseum, of course, and all these players will be duking it out. And if you don't see your favorite player here, then they got to work through the qualifiers. They have to work through those region-locked qualifiers. Bear that in mind as well. They are region-locked. Got another protos yesterday and today. Exactly. Now, to quickly reiterate as well, if there are some players that are missing here, reason for that is because they underperformed in World Team League Winter and World Team League Kung Fu Cups. We can actually have a look at the standings here. We looked at this yesterday, but very quickly, I was really curious yesterday. I was like, how is Raynor not here? Did Raynor really not make it in? And it's so brutal. So top 12 get invited. These are the top 12 based on points. Raynor was number 13. He was so close, Papi. Raynor and Spirit, they were so close, barely didn't make the cutoff for invites, so they got to go the long way around. They have to work through those qualifiers instead. Again, just to reiterate, points were accumulated this season based on Kung Fu Cups, which is a weekly tournament that we casted every single week, and at the very bottom here, on the right hand side, World Team League, WTL, based on their individual performances here in World Team League, that also gave them points as well. So yeah, competing in World Team League was not good enough. You had to, of course, compete in Kung Fu Cups to also get enough points and to get invited into Masters Coliseum. So yeah, it was brutal. Some of these players did not make the cut, which means for the Europe qualifier, we should be seeing Spirit and Raynor there. They should be there in the Europe qualifier. When it comes to the Korean qualifier, you know, players like Nightmare, Ryung, they should be a part of that as well, alongside a lot of the other Kwangdong Freaks players, like Stats. Classic is another big one. If you're wondering why Classic isn't here, Classic doesn't compete in World Team League, so without points from WTL, he just can't really accumulate enough, even if he competes in Kung Fu Cup. That's why Classic isn't here. That's why Hero Marine isn't here. Showtime isn't here. It's quite important to be a part of WTL if you want to be a part of this event. So yeah, unfortunately, the players that I just mentioned are part of teams that aren't competing in World Team League. Twisted Minds, Berlin International Gaming, and Mouse Esports, they're not a part of WTL. So again, all those players have to work through those qualifiers instead. And again, that's going to be tomorrow. It is going to be tomorrow. Oof. Showtime and Hero Marine should make a team for WTL called Big Boys. Oh my! They need a third. They need a who would join them as a third player? I like where your head's at. I like it. Showtime and Hero Marine. The Big Boys, but who is big enough to join them? Who can be with them? That's the big question. They need a third. Aye. But regardless, thank you so much everyone for tuning in. Hope everyone enjoyed themselves here for Masters Coliseum. Maybe true. Papi, Big Papi, special. He could fit there, especially now that he's a little bit more jacked. He's been hitting the gym. True. Maybe Euthermal. Euthermal is another one. He was actually Euthermal was in the qualifiers for WTL. He was actually playing for Team Roddy. Euthermal, he was playing for Team Roddy for the qualifiers of WTL. Didn't make it though. Didn't make it, unfortunately. But outside of that, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, a big shout out to Trigger. And as I mentioned before, tomorrow we're going to be back. We're going to be back with the Korean qualifiers. And I feel like the big names for the Korean qualifiers are going to be Nightmare, Classic, DRG. That's going to be another big one. I feel like Classic is going to be the favorite player coming in, but not going to be easy. Gumiho, of course. Gumiho is on Cloud 9. I almost forgot. Of course, Gumiho is not. He's also not invited because Cloud 9 isn't a part of WTL, so he's going to be another big one. And only one qualifying spot. Only one player makes it through. So yeah, it's going to be brutal. So again, that's going to be tomorrow. Day after that, the European qualifiers. And we're going to be covering it here on the CranKy Ducklings. So if you're interested, if you enjoyed the casting, and if you want some more StarCraft, hit that follow button. !! Socials in the chat. Kyle's a true Diego. True. Diego. Elaser's on TL, unfortunately. Elaser, he's on Team Liquid. Cham is on Starlight. But exclamation mark socials, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. We have a YouTube channel, as we mentioned, where we upload on a daily basis. Plenty of content is on YouTube. Fun fact, Masters Coliseum 6, all the VODs of that event, which was previously a couple of months ago, is also on YouTube as well. So if you want to tune in to the previous event, it was a pretty big one. It was a great finals. It was basically Cyril mowing through all the Terrans. It was Cyril going through Bjorn, Kior, Clem, Maru as well, just going through every single big Korean and even foreign Terran player, and having an insane tournament run there. Really worth checking out. Fun fact, also in Master Coliseum 6, Raynor was a part of that, and he played Protoss. He played Protoss against Dark, and it did not go well. Did not go well for Raynor. Was it against Dark or Solar? It was against one of them, and I think it was against Dark. Yeah, I remember he went down 2-0, and then Raynor switched back to Zerg. He's like I can't do this. I can't take it. Can't take it. It was great though. He couldn't handle the Dark. But yeah, with that, again, you can follow us on YouTube if you're interested, or on all the social medias. You can support us on Patreon, exclamation mark Patreon in the chats. If you're curious, our Patreon is set up to fund our tournaments. We host events like Grand Platypus Open, Sparkling Tuna Cup, and the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. We host region-locked weekly events whenever we can to help support some of the smaller regions, so Patreon is the place to do it. We also release replay packs as well. Plenty of replay packs on all the events that we cover, like this one, like these qualifiers, for example, alongside many others. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, enjoy the end of the year, and enjoy yourselves. Take a break, have some fun, get some nice food. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad, papi. Hasta luego. Until next time. Bye. Until next time.